All right, this is modern art is CIA propaganda.
In a turn of events that absolutely nobody saw coming, I think I like modern art now. Today we're talking about modern art and the historically supported objective fact that the CIA used it as a psychological operation to defeat communism. That's not a joke. Just so we're on the same page, I keep saying modern art, and I'm gonna keep saying modern art, but more specifically, I'm talking about abstract expressionism, which is a subcategory of modern art. So for this, think of it as like the Jackson Pollock type stuff. You know, the stuff you look
Amazing, smart thing to do. From an artistic standpoint, amazing. Every other time after that, I'm like, okay, you did it. It's been done. Moving on.
at and you're like, wow, that's worth $200 million, and I'm pretty sure my 3-year-old could do it. That type of art. And to be completely honest with you, I had every intention of this just being an 8 to 10 minute video of me talking smack about modern art and how dumb I think it is. And over the course of researching for this video, I have had a complete 180 change of heart. Not only do I think that modern art is pretty cool now, I was so compelled that I went out and bought my own piece.
That actually looks pretty cool.
That's how great this story actually is.
No, that looks cool.
180 change of heart. Not only do I think that modern art is pretty cool now, I was so compelled that I went out and bought my
That looks cool though. I can't make that. Like, that looks good. I cannot make that. That can't be made by me. That looks good.
Piece of modern art. That's how great this story actually is. And we're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by Zaka Life Go Balm. It is a full spectrum hemp oil recovery balm that you can put on any type of athletic injury, and it's going to work better than any other type of ointment that you've ever tried. I've been using it for over a year, and whether it's old chronic injuries flaring up again or new and exciting injuries, this stuff helps either way. They're a small business based right here out of America. All their products are made here. So if you want to check them out, I'll have a link in the description down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, let's just take it from the top. World War II ends. The Cold War pretty much immediately starts, right? We split Germany right down the middle. We've got East Side versus West Side, just like Biggie and Tupac. But instead of rappers, we have communism versus capitalism. They are going to be competing at literally everything under the sun, okay? Most people think about Cold War and it's like, who has the best weapons? Who has more nuclear bombs? That's true, but there's also the culture war. America and the Soviet Union are competing against one another at absolutely everything possible. This is why we have awesome movies like Miracle, because America needs to beat the Soviet Union at hockey, and we need to win the most Olympic medals, and we have to have the best art and the best music and the best economy. It is a cultural war on everything. Now, some of these cultural battlefields are going to be way tougher than others. For example, the Olympics is going to be unbelievably tough because the USSR is just going to go in and give all their athletes funding, and it's going to be their full-time job to train to be an Olympic athlete 30 hours a day.
And give them, you know, performance-enhancing drugs.
The government can do to ensure victory other than sit back, cross their fingers, and hope to God a genetic freak of nature like Dan Gable wanders out of a cornfield and wins Olympic gold at wrestling without giving up a single point. So in things like sports, it's just going to be what it's going to be. It's a good old-fashioned shootout. But on other battlegrounds that have a less defined rule set, America's going to cheat its ass off every way it can.
Oh, hell yeah.
Goddamn right.
And two of these extremely important yet undefined battlegrounds are art and music. And America doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with the Soviets in, say, music on a category like classical music because, well, the Soviets are going to do the same thing they do with their Olympic teams. They're going to take a 1-year-old that can barely walk, shove a violin in their hands, and make them play it 18 hours a day till they become the best violinists on earth by the time they're 7. And the American government basically has a strategy of like, yeah, no thank you. We're just going to take something the Soviets don't have and make it extremely popular, and that way we win automatically. So the government, by way of the CIA, takes a bunch of money and funnels it in.
I know this isn't an example, but I just like bring it up. It's like when we call the baseball game, the baseball tournament, I guess you call it, the World Series, and you're like, oh yeah, it's the World Series. Only the U.S. is involved.
Into the jazz industry. They take the best artists like Louis Armstrong and send him on global tours all around Europe and every other country they can get into, showing off this new style of music and making it popular across the globe. And it's something that the Soviets just aren't going to be able to compete with. And jazz ends up inspiring rock and roll, and then rock and roll ends up inspiring metal. And next thing you know, it's 1991 and Metallica is having a concert in the USSR with 1.6 million people.
Oh my God, my neck hurt just looking at that.
The USSR falls. Coincidence? I think not. And they have the same exact strategy with art, okay? What are the Soviets good at? They're good at the traditional stuff, that old school realism, okay? Which
that looks really good.
Kind of not the traditional stuff, that
looks really good. Holy shit, and the line work right there. Oh my God. This is a good painting. I like that. Well done.
school realism, okay? Which, let's be honest, kind of not super needed anymore ever since we invented fucking cameras. So the American government is like, well, what do we have that's different? Let's back that. We are gonna back modern art, which is abstract expressionism, where it's literally just art for the sake of art. That's literally the definition of abstract expressionism. It's just doing it because you want to do it, because you're expressing yourself through some medium in some fashion, and that's where you get things like Jackson Pollock paintings. He's just expressing himself. Now, that doesn't sound like that big of a deal. However, it is a humongous deal because that's exactly the type of thing that you can't do over in the Soviet Union, pursuing a passion.
You can't express yourself in the Soviet Union.
Can you be an artist?
Fair.
Absolutely. You can be an artist in the Soviet Union and get by just fine, provided that you're exclusively willing to paint hyper-realistic pictures of our glorious leader. And if you get bored with that, you're probably allowed to paint some pictures of our astronauts not landing on the moon first. Or maybe, if you get really bored, you could paint some muscle mommy holding a shovel, or maybe a bunch of workers returning home from the fields, but they all better have fucking smiles on their faces. So that's the angle that the US government's gonna take. They're gonna show off modern art, because modern art is nothing other than art for the sake of art. It is a symbol of freedom. It's not this tired-ass stuff the Soviets are doing, this take a picture of me, but do it with paint nonsense. All their artists over there with their techniques and their well-refined skills. No, this is America. We're gonna throw shit at the wall and we're gonna win anyways. I mean paint at the canvas. We're gonna throw paint at the canvas and we're gonna win anyways.
How do you know when you're done with a painting?
How do you know when you're done making love?
Oh, when you wash your penis in the sink and go to bed.
What? Don't wash your penis in the sink, okay? Don't do what? 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 Don't do that. Don't do it. Oh wait, okay. He doesn't mean like literally in the sink. He means using sink water. Okay, that's different. Okay, never mind. Just don't put your actual dick up into the sink. Okay, that's weird. That's weird.
With our intellect, we're gonna baffle them with our bullshit. So that's the official plan of the US government. All we have to do is make this shit popular somehow. How are they gonna do it? That's easy. Copious amounts of.
That picture is what it looks like, how it feels to have been sleeping on one arm for too long, and now that arm has fallen asleep.
Taxpayer money. So that's what the US government does. Right after World War II, 1946-ish, they just start pumping money into modern art, trying to get as many eyes on it as humanly possible.
Did he get
and
quiet?
Making it seem as cool
Hang on.
as possible. And it was not well received pretty much by anybody. Even the art community was divided. Half the art community hated this stuff, okay? They felt like it undermined the rest of art, which makes sense, right? You spent your whole life developing this skill set.
Hey, welcome, Glitch.
Beautiful paintings, and then out of nowhere, here comes this Jackson Pollock guy in his drip phase, and he's just fucking overhanding paint at a canvas, not even bothering to pick the dead flies up out of it.
What the Oh, but that adds to it. It adds to the expressionism of it, and you can see the moment that the fly was covered in paint and everything. Like, I get the meaning behind these paintings. I do. It's only genius the first time. I don't care about all the other ones. You can only say a message like that once and get a fucking way with it by selling it for a lot of money. That's it. That's it.
And all of a sudden, he's more famous than you are. It's absurd. And that's just the
Wasn't Jackson Pollock already famous, though? Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Getting from their own community. Once the church-going, more conservative crowd gets a hold of this shit, they lose their mind. They fucking hate it.
One of the many tools of the devil.
Because you gotta realize from this, like, church-going conservative viewpoint, the majority of artists, generally speaking, have always been more left-leaning, which is completely fine.
True.
But in this
True.
instance, the majority of these abstract expressionist artists that are blowing up are, like, borderline communist sympathizers, or some of them are even self-proclaimed communists. I mean, Jackson Pollock worked on a May Day float depicting the workers overthrowing Wall Street. Like, they have some pretty controversial political opinions. So, from the perspective of this church-going conservative, it is literally a bunch of commies trying to destroy art. And they're using our tax dollars to do it. We can't allow this to happen. It's a slippery slope. First you let them call this art, then they're gonna be having concerts called Woodstock and putting flowers in their hair and smoking weed and having unprotected sex, and then Forrest Gump's girlfriend's gonna get AIDS.
Yep.
It's gonna ruin the entire world. Okay, to be fair, they weren't actually worried about Jenny, but there was a bunch of conspiracy theories going around.
Fuck Jenny.
One of the biggest ones was,
at least in the movie. I heard it's different in the book.
This type of art were communist sympathizers, is that this weird abstract art form was some way for them to convey secret messages back to the Soviet Union. Maybe these were like maps.
What was that? What was that? Hang on.
For them to
what did he put in the
secret
screen?
Messages back to the Soviet Union. Maybe.
What was that? What was that? You can't hide a message from me. You can't do this. Bread lines.
Maybe
Okay.
these were like maps of secret US military installations and they were all spies gathering intel, and this is how they shared it back to the USSR. Absolutely no merit to it whatsoever, but those were the types of things that people were saying. So due to the pretty violent backlash,
Did she
from
give
all
Forrest
directions,
AIDS? I
the
think
US
so.
government has to abandon this project and quit putting money into it almost immediately. So now the US government is in this situation where they have something that they want to do, but literally none of their constituents want them to do it. So clearly, they're not gonna do it. The video's over. That's it. The end. No, I'm just fucking kidding.
Liar.
Obviously, they're going to use the CIA and do it anyways and then just not tell anybody about it, because that's just how the government gets down, apparently. So in 1950, the CIA helps fund and set up this new organization called the CCF, the Congress for Cultural Freedom. And this isn't just for art. This is going to be a gigantic shell corporation that the government pumps money into to attack everything communist in culture. This is going to be an anti-communist propaganda-making machine. At its peak, the CCF operated in over 35 different countries. They owned and published over 30 different magazines. They owned entire news outlets. They're promoting anti-communist books, music, art, intellectuals, anything they can do to fight the communist ideology, they're doing, and they're funneling it all through the CCF. And this was deemed so successful overall that the CIA website actually says, and I quote, "The Congress for Cultural Freedom is widely considered one of the CIA's most daring and effective Cold War covert operations." So the CIA...
What kind of covert operations do you think we have right now? Like, what are we using right now that we're going to learn about in like 20, 30, 40 years? That's like, oh yeah, no, that was backed by the CIA or the FBI or stuff like that to like culturally destroy X or like, you know, push something culturally in the US upon the rest of the world. What are we going to, what do you think is right now? What do you think's right now? Because I have a feeling it's like, it's still Hollywood, like still Hollywood. Gamergate? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about Gamergate. When Gamergate was happening, I didn't even have a Twitter. So I gotta inform myself on Gamergate. So I can't really say anything about Gamergate. I'll be honest with you. That's not like a cop-out. That's just truth that I don't really know what happened. All I know, or am I thinking of something else? Is Gamergate the one with the pizza shop? Or is that something else? I can't remember what Gamergate was. Was that the pizza store? Or was that something else? No, that was some, or was it? I don't remember. There was some gate that was involving a pizza store, right? I don't know.
CCF is huge, but we're focusing on art, and art
Wouldn't be very covert if we
Yeah.
know, yeah, but we'll know in the future. Pizzagate, of course. I was thinking of Pizzagate. That's Pizzagate.
that modern art is already deemed super controversial, so they don't want the CCF to come out and support it directly, so they have to figure out a way to support it indirectly. So the CIA goes out and they're like, okay.
No,
we're gonna do all
Gamergate
this
wasn't the
art thing.
GameStop stunk. That was just fucking Reddit and that one guy. I can't remember his name. That one stock guy who probably he knows what he's doing, but it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy with GameStop.
Foundations that already exist.
Don't buy GameStop.
Unfortunately,
Don't do it.
Most of them didn't want to work with the CIA because it's, well, A, they're a bureaucratic nightmare, and B, most of them didn't like modern art. So at
Why is
this
he
point,
getting
the
quiet?
CIA is like, fuck it, we'll just make our own art foundation. So they go and they approach like a bunch of super wealthy people in New York City, and they're like, hey, start up an art foundation. We'll do all the work. We'll do all the paperwork. We're just going to funnel a bunch of money and art through this foundation. I'm sure you'll end up getting like tax write-offs or something. So all the rich people are like, dope, absolutely, go ahead. And they do this like 50 times. They amass a gigantic network of phony art foundations where they use that to just funnel money directly into modern art. Okay, they're funding the artists, they're giving away rewards, they're buying the artwork, they're donating it. Then they go to the museums and they get the museums in on it. Now the museums are going to be disproportionately showing modern art more than anything else, inflating its popularity. But that's not where it stops, because now the CCF can get involved. Now that it's like,
This just shows how brain dead people are, okay? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, and I'm not gonna be upset about it, okay? Most people just think that something's good because they are told that it is good. Okay? This is how I do it for video games, this is what I do for movies, this is what I do for art, this is what I do for pretty much everything. Before I try to see whatever is going on the internet about this game sucks, this game's amazing, I look at it first. I play it or I watch something in a vacuum away from whatever people say, and I form my own opinion from it, okay? Sometimes I agree with the majority, sometimes I disagree with the majority, Okay, just because everyone is saying it's good or it's bad doesn't mean it is good or bad, because one, it's a never-ending cycle of like one famous dude, one big internet personality says game X is the worst game ever, and then it gets a lot of views, and then everybody else on the internet that was trying to get big and famous, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna make videos agreeing with them, trying to get those clicks, even if they don't agree. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but you don't know, because they're gonna say those surface level things about the game. They're going to probably just regurgitate things they saw from other videos or other articles or stuff like that. So you don't know. Maybe they do like it, but maybe they don't. You don't know. So form your own fucking opinion before you watch some of these YouTube videos saying like, this game is good, this game is bad. Just do it in a vacuum, okay? Do it in a vacuum. You don't need to, if you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, that's great. It's your opinion, it's your taste, okay? Just because it's in a museum doesn't mean you have to think it's fucking great, okay? Just because everyone's saying it's a good game and it's getting 10 out of 10 doesn't mean it have to be a 10 out of 10. Because I'm going to say it. Tears of the Kingdom, it's not a 10 out of 10. Tears of the Kingdom is not a 10 out of 10. It's fucking Breath of the Wild again. And with all the same problem as before. And it's just not as good. Tears of the Kingdom, not a 10 out of 10. It's like an 8 out of 10. Okay, it's a good game. But Jesus Christ, are we just going to overlook all the problems that they kept from the previous game? Is that what we're going to do? Same type of map? Same problems with the combat? I'm sorry, I got distracted with Tears of the Kingdom, but it's not a fucking 10 out of 10, people. How dare you?
2 to 3 degrees removed, we're going to bring the CCF in with their 20 magazines and their
You've ever seen how good a Monster Hunter Wilds look? Monster Hunter Wilds looks great. I'm excited for that.
All these modern artists and how great all this art is. And then, if any art critics want to have their opinions published in any of these 20 magazines or covered by the news, they better have the right fucking opinion about modern art. So the CIA forces this into the mainstream, and it's everywhere in all the media all the time, and everybody sees it. And this is like the peer pressure effect, right? You see this in all the magazines, all the art critics love it. Eventually you're like, shit, am I the only person that thinks this is dumb? If everybody else likes it, I don't want to be the only uncultured swine that looks.
And if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you later on change your mind, that's also fine. I used to think that this modern art stuff, all of it was bad. And now I've changed my opinion with new information to say that the first time it was done, it was good. Every other time, it's still bad.
It something that I think my 3-year-old can do and like doesn't understand the deeper meaning. So I'm just gonna lie and pretend and say that I like it too, just so I'm part of the cool kid group. So
don't be like that. Don't be peer pressure.
Sophisticated. So
be your own independent person.
Modern art. It's like candy corn, okay? I know that candy corn tastes like shit. I've never met a single person in my entire life that actually liked candy corn.
I like candy corn. Look, see, I'm being my own person right now. I like candy corn. But I will say, I understand why people don't like it, and I can't eat a lot of it. It's one of those candies that I will stop at some point. If you gave me a bunch of like Nestle Crunch bars, I would just keep it. I would eat all of it. I have no self-control. Candy corn, I will stop at some point. I will. Yeah, I like candy corn. I wouldn't say I love it, but if you give me a bag of candy corn, I'm going to eat a lot of it. I will stop, though. I will stop. So, it is good. It is good. Hey, welcome back, Patty.
Yet, somehow, some way, every October, it's absolutely everywhere. It's got the best marketing on the planet for no apparent
I don't
reason.
love it.
I don't even know what company makes candy corn, yet it's everywhere all the time.
Oh, but those candy corn pumpkins, it's too big. Candy corn pumpkins are too big. I eat every candy corn piece in one bite. The candy corn pumpkins, too big. It feels weird to take a bite out of half of it and then eat the other half, but it also feels weird to put the entire thing in my mouth, so I don't eat those. Fuck those.
Time for the entire month of October. Fuck, candy corn's got to be a psyop too. It's got to be like nuclear waste. That's how the government gets rid of it. I have no idea. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Candy corn.
Candy corn is a psyop. Yet, I'm going to look into it. I'm upset about this now. But we do know for a fact that modern art was a psyop, or at least its rise to fame was a psyop. And we know this because in 1966, the New York Times had found out that the CIA helped make the CCF, and they ran it as a story. Now, they only knew about the CCF. They didn't
Chimichangas are a CIA psyop. It's a chimichanga.
With the founding of all these different shell art foundations. That didn't come out until the 1990s. But it did get the ball rolling for a bunch of conspiracies because now the art community is super skeptical of abstract expressionism. Now, it just didn't make sense from their point of view. You know, usually, typically speaking, it's almost common knowledge that most artists don't get super famous until after they die. Yet somehow all the major abstract expressionists, Jackson Pollock, de Kooning, Rothko, these guys were all superstars during their lifetime. They had multiple page spreads in magazines. They were making tons of money. They were rich. They were famous. It just made zero sense, historically speaking. Because of this, a lot of people in the art community thought for sure the government had to be behind it. In 1974, famous art critic Max Kuzlov said that it was, quote, a benevolent form of propaganda. And here's the kicker with this. We don't know to what degree the artists that benefited the most from this actually knew that they were being used by the CIA, because as far as they probably knew, they just received a bunch of money from some art foundation owned by some rich guy. They didn't know that that rich guy was actually working with the CIA. On the flip side of that, maybe they did know the entire time, and some people cite the fact that Jackson Pollock later in his life denounced communism as evidence of that. However, in my personal opinion, I don't really buy it. I think these guys had no clue, and I think that Jackson Pollock denounced communism later in life because he got famous and rich as fuck. I mean, the dude was selling paintings for
that can happen.
Which if you adjust for inflation is like 95 grand, okay? He had a lot of money, and let's just call a spade a spade. Every young college kid wants to share the wealth, and then they get a little bit older and it becomes their wealth that needs to get shared, and then their opinions change. Now, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. However, I hope I'm right for a couple of reasons. One, I personally just find it funny that the US government was using unwitting communist sympathizers to fight against communism by showing off all the freedoms they have because they didn't live under communism. To me, that's art. And B, and also another reason that I think I'm correct, is that I think the CIA knew that this art couldn't be propaganda. I mean, they were going to use it as propaganda, and they knew that, but it was very important with the creation of the art that the artist had no idea that it was being used for propaganda. It needed to be a true, authentic expression of that person, because that's what made this art so effective, is that we were showing
What is this? This looks like this looks like a toilet seat was like sat on by someone with a square ass cheek. No. What this looks like, it looks like the seats in a school bus. I don't know why I said school bus. There's only one kind of school bus, but you know when a seat has been sat on for a really long time and has been deformed, that's what this looks like. That's what this looks like. What toilet seats are you sitting on? I was meaning it like if you had a hole in the center, that's what it looks like, but it didn't come across right. But that's what this looks more like, a seat found on a very used school bus seat. That's what it is. This is not what am I supposed to take away from this? I'm just like, wow, they stained a canvas. Good job.
Freedom, the freedom of self-expression. That's what abstract expressionism is all about.
Oh my God, I get it.
So if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, what I'm trying to tell you is that when most people think of the Cold War, they think of an arms race between America and the Soviet Union. Who can have the most nukes? Who can have the most
the sweat
jets?
stains left behind on the seat, exactly.
Most creative, efficient way to kill the enemy. But at the end of the day, that was a moot point from the get-go because there was always mutually assured destruction between America and the USSR should it devolve to a hot conflict. And what actually won the Cold War was the culture war. Because when it came time for the USSR to fall in 1991, they didn't want to drag America down with them because everybody in the Soviet Union was wearing blue jeans, drinking Pepsi, listening to Metallica, and Gorbachev himself was doing fucking Pizza Hut.
Yep, I knew it. Show the picture. There we go. Show the video.
They didn't want to destroy America because they wanted to be like America, or at the very least, they recognized the fact that the world was a better place with America in it. The Cold War wasn't won by having the most nuclear warheads. It wasn't won by putting a man on the moon first. It was won with blue jeans, junk food, music, and art. And to quote JFK, art is not a form of propaganda. It is a form of truth. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go.
Sounds like someone who's using it as propaganda would say.
Whack bang. Out. Like a week ago, I would have done nothing but made fun of modern art. Now look at me. Look at this. It's beautiful.
Now, yeah, that looks good. See, I can't make that, so I like it. Old man lore video. Watch that old man lore video. We'll check it out. Like, but this looks good. Since I can't make this,
I love it.
I like it.
It speaks to me. I like what it has to say.
Good video. Good video. Good video. Okay. The takeaway from this is like what you like, don't like what you don't like, and that's fine. All right? You don't go along with what everyone else says, okay? Because I am convinced that most people on the internet just decide what they like and don't like based off of what they see on the internet. They're like, "Oh, dude, this new thing came out. Oh, everyone's saying it sucks. Yep, it sucks. Have you even checked out the trailer?" Have you watched a video of it, or have you like seen some gameplay where it's just the gameplay? I know I'm only talking about video games, but that's what I'm closest to. Like, have you watched anything that isn't charged with an opinion already? No? Then shut the fuck up. Sorry. Okay? Okay? I'm not speaking to anyone in particular. It just seems like that, where they're just gonna regurgitate the same thing a YouTuber says. Form your own opinion, thank you. So, yep. But good video. Go check it out. And I hope y'all enjoyed. And if I put this on YouTube, thank you for watching. And like, subscribe, comment, all other suggestions and whatnot. And until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay awesome, y'all.